What's going on, boys? It is day number 14 of reading through the book of Luke. I hope that everyone has had a great Tuesday so far. I woke up this morning and I had a very difficult time getting into the Word, but I'm grateful that I was able to push through my classes today. And I just got to say that chapter 14 in this book of Luke is so powerful just because, one, there's parables spoken again, which I love parables. And there is a just out view that Jesus gives about what it means to be a disciple and about those he calls, about those that should be called into his kingdom, those that we should be ministering to, those that are part of the seeking process. So, we're going to be looking at two different sections, the first and the third one, I think with the middle one kind of tying into both of them as well. So the first one, Jesus is at a Pharisee's house, and at first he asks a question, that is it lawful for anyone to be healed on the Sabbath? And he gets no response, and he heals a man who was dealing with abnormal swelling in his body. And in this particular moment, there is no response given to the Pharisees, and you can just imagine that they are very angry at Jesus because they don't believe that it's lawful, and or even maybe they don't even know what to say. And Jesus is still there at this place, and he is there, and there's a bunch of other people there, guests, and he tells them this parable. And there's two different kind of people that he speaks to. I'm going to read both of them at the same time. The first one, he speaks to the guests who had picked particular places in this at this table, and then he speaks to the host. So I'm going to talk about how he speaks to the people first. This is verse 7 through 11. He says, "When he noticed how the guests had picked their places of honor at the table, he told them this parable. When someone invites you to a wedding feast, do not take the place of honor, for a person more distinguished than you may have been invited. If so, the host who invited both you will come to you and say, give the person your seat. Then, humiliated, you have to go take the least important place. But when you are invited, take the lowest place, so that when your host comes, he will say to you, friend, move up to a better place. Then you will be honored in all the presence of the other guests. For all those who exalt themselves will be humbled, and those who humble themselves will be exalted." And then this is what he says to the host. This is the second part. He says, "But when you give a banquet, invite the poor, the crippled, the lame, the blind, and you will be blessed. Although they cannot repay you, you will be repaid at the resurrection of the righteous." So two things are happening. So first, he speaks to the guests that are at this table of honor. And I think what we can see from this is that, you may think to a particular time that you were invited to something that you may have been invited to. Maybe it was a party, maybe it was a banquet, maybe it was a wedding, maybe it was a just get together, a family reunion. One example that I just now thought about was a particular luncheon that I went to last year. The speaker's name was Inky Johnson. And we went, and I remember hearing about it, and I had no idea who this speaker was, and I did a little research, and I saw that he was pretty famous, and I thought, oh, okay, that'd be really cool to go. And I remember there was no tickets left, and I thought, oh, okay, that's okay. But then I remember I got up, and I woke up that morning that he was supposed to be speaking, and a friend of mine had texted me and said, hey, he said, I've got tickets. He's like, I want you to be there, man. I want you to sit at our table. And we were like maybe 100 feet from him. And we were there, and he spoke a really amazing message about his life and about the Lord and so many things that we ourselves miss on a daily basis. So, and with that being said, one of the things that I like to do when I break down these verses is ask these three questions. What does it say about God? What does it say about people or me? And what can I do to apply it to my life? What can I take from this and say, okay, I'm going to apply this principle. I'm going to apply this particular practice. So God calls those God calls those who chose to be the lowest in order to depend on Him. So we might have heard the phrase yesterday. It says, those who are last will be first, and those who are first will be last. So basically, when we humble ourselves and when we discipline ourselves to say, you know what, I'm not just going to be comfortable. I'm going to be uncomfortable. I'm going to, not necessarily lower myself down in like a financial status, but maybe more or less, I'm going to become so low that whenever people come, I'm going to say, you go sit up front. You go do this. But what happens here is that not a lot of us are willing to do this. We seek the front row in life as a form of satisfaction. because a lot of us believe that being on the front row, a lot of us believe that, we should be up there, that, we're just a part of, whatever sort of event that you're at. From my Harmony of the Gospels book, another way of looking at this about taking the lowest place is that Jesus highlights how one should not seek places of honor, lest one more honorable comes. Rather take the lowest place, and then you may be called up. There is no shame and honor given to one who does not seek it. Exaltation from God comes to the humble. So we must humble ourselves and say, I'm going to become weak, so God may become strong in me, because I know that I am weak, that I can display the life of Jesus in myself so that God can call me up. So when my time's up on the earth and I get to the gates of heaven, God calls me and he says, he reads my name and calls me up. That's what I'm preparing for. That's what it means to, strip yourself of the worldly value. Invite the broken and make them feel welcome. So this is regarding to the second part. So there's actually two different parts here. And the reason why I want to hone in on the second part is because just the way that he kind of breaks it down. He gives these particular descriptions of people that should come. And I think another one that we can add in there is people who may be lost, maybe mentally struggling or mentally just confused about something that may have happened or something that they're just not able to comprehend. He speaks in the first part. He says, don't just invite your friends or your family or your neighbors or your rich neighbors or just anybody that you know. Don't just invite them. Invite the people who are broken, because those are the ones that need a good word. Those are the ones who need a word from God. He said, and when you lower yourself, my power may be displayed so others can see that I am good and that I am still here. That others can see that God is still here. God seeks even the lowest of low, even the lowest, the poorest, the most just bottom line people of all. He seeks them too. Not just people who may be following him. He seeks the lowest of lowest. And that's the thing. God doesn't just look after people who may have all the money in the world. That's great. You have money. That's great. But God doesn't after that. He's after your spirit. And sometimes what we notice is that the people who are poor and crippled and lame and blind and, just dealing with all sorts of spiritual and mental things are the ones who are closest to God. Why? Because they know that there's nothing out there that is going to answer their problems. There's nothing out there that's going to answer anything. So they call to God. They say, God, I've lost it all. I don't know what else to do. God, I need help. God, I need help. I need help. And those are the people who are often closer to God, because people with the money and the higher up believe that, oh, well, I can just go this way. This didn't work out. I have 6 other doors I can go through, and one of them will work. But what we notice is that doesn't always seem to be true. Invite the broken and make them feel welcome. Last night we had our first meeting of young adults at my local church, and we had to make some changes due to an event that happened over the weekend. But one particular motto that we go by is, any people that are new, we recommend them they come and sit with us, and that if there's someone out there who may come and they're sitting by themselves, that we as, the volunteers and as the servants of God should go to them and, comfort them and kind of introduce ourselves to them, say, hey, my name's so-and-so, what's your name? Nice to meet you. What brought you in? What can I do to get you more involved? Because oftentimes that's what people need. People see these events, people see this, and they're like, okay, I'm going to go, but what's going to happen? And that's where we come in as followers. We are the ones who are inviting. We invite them into God's kingdom because we were invited to God's kingdom by somebody, or maybe even Christ himself, through a particular event we may have gone through. We were that person. Now it is our job to do that. It is our job to say, hey, I see this person going through this. Yes, I have friends, family, people who, I can invite that I know very well, people that I talk to on a daily basis, brothers and sisters in Christ. That's great. But it's the people who don't have that, people that are coming to say, yeah, I just got off a long shift. I'm really struggling through this. I don't really know how else to plan it. Like, I'm going through each day, hoping, praying that I get through it because I barely have enough. And that's where we come and say, hey, let's talk about this. Let's walk through this together. So that brings me to the second part about the cost of being a disciple. I think this is where a lot of us can fall short sometimes. And I myself struggle with this a lot on a daily basis, just because it's really hard to understand that the cost of being a disciple of Jesus means everything. So I'm going to read two different sets of selected verses here. It's verse 26 through 30 and then verse 33 through 35. Jesus says, "If anyone comes to me and does not hate father and mother, wife and children, brother and sisters, yes, even their own life, such a person cannot become my disciple. And whoever does not carry the cross and follow me cannot be my disciple. Suppose one of you wants to build a tower. Won't you first sit down and estimate the cost to see if you have enough money to complete it? For if you lay the foundation and are not able to finish it, everyone who sees it will ridicule you, saying, 'This person began to build and wasn't able to finish.' In the same way, those of you who do not give up everything you have cannot be my disciples. Salt is good, but if it loses its saltiness, how can it be made salty again? It is fit neither for the soil nor for the manure pile. It is thrown out. Whoever has ears, let them hear." So I want to read a little footnote from Harmony of the Gospels book here again about this first part, what Jesus says. It says, if one does not hate, basically the ones who are close to them, you can't become my disciple. So when he says this saying says rhetorically that love for Jesus is the highest priority. It is not teaching hate for parents or one's life, but that such devotion is of a lesser status than love and devotion to God and Jesus. So I don't believe that Jesus is saying, you got to hate everybody. Like you just, screw them. You got to just hate them. I don't believe that's what he's saying. I believe he's saying, hey, if you want to be my disciple, if you want to really be my follower, you've got to make a choice. You're given a choice. You have free will, and you have a choice. No one forces you to follow me. Jesus does not force us to follow him. It is a choice we are given. Christ calls us to place him atop all other worldly items and beings. Why? Because he is righteous. He is holy. Because he is good. He has no sin in him. He knows what we need. He knows what we long for. We may depend on our parents and our family and our friends, but they can't answer all of our problems. They can't figure out everything for us. They're not going to understand everything we say. Because why? Because they're sinners too. Our own family, the ones who we look up to, the ones that we grew up with, the ones that we may have, spent so much time together, they too are sinners. And they too need God, just as much as you and I. All of us need God. So yes, I do believe that the walk with Christ and the becoming of a disciple of Christ means that you must say, okay, I'm going to follow Christ. And if other people have an issue with it, well, then I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing, because I know there is so much more that I'm going to gain when I walk with Christ than anyone else out here could tell me. We are fearful of telling others about the news, this new way of life. Why? Because we're afraid of what they're going to say. We're afraid that people are going to get angry at us. They're afraid they're going to call us, all sorts of words. But what we're hopeful for is that someone will understand. I'm grateful that my family, when I told them that I wanted to do my walk with Christ, that they were very grateful for me and they were very supportive. And they too, they understood that the walk with Christ is something that one must make on their own. But I believe that when other people notice, they support you. And they're like, hey, I value that. You're doing a really great job. And they too can help you. And you can walk with Christ, with them together, reading scripture, praying, going out and doing good deeds, being a good Samaritan, whatever that looks like. We must lose before we gain. Following Jesus is not a hobby, but a way of life. Or in other words, being a disciple of Jesus isn't just a choice that you just make. Well, I guess I'll be a disciple today, but I'm just going to be a regular person tomorrow. No, it's either you or either or all the time. And this is something that all of us face on a daily basis. This is a choice that we have to make daily. Jesus calls us to say, he says, and whoever does not carry their cross and follow me. And this is a daily practice. If we don't do this daily, we will not be able to be a true follower and truly hear what he is speaking into our ears to display in our life. We must lose before we gain. I think this doesn't just apply biblically. This applies to every aspect of life. When we're seeking a new goal or trying to do something new, we sometimes have to give up something. We have to give up doing something. If it's a diet, you have to give up a certain food. If it's a particular workout, you have to give up at a certain time in the morning. You have to give up a certain time in the day to say, no, I'm not going to sit around. I'm going to actually go and train myself. The walk with Christ is the same thing. It's not a complicated, you have to, complete a whole essay worth of things. It's what are you going to lose in order that Christ may display himself in your life? And that's something I believe that we must figure out on our own time with God. We must ask God, say, God, show me, point out to me what it is that is blocking me from having you in my life first. Show me what is a barrier between you and I. But because I believe he will. He'll answer you. He'll tell you. He'll tell you exactly what it is. And a lot of times we don't like it. But our response should be, okay, well, what can I do? How can I serve you? How can I obey you? So that's today's message. I hope that you guys have had a great Tuesday so far. I'm going to go ahead and read from today's daily prayer, and we'll close on out. Today is January 13th, and our title is called Inheritance. We're in the book of 1 Peter chapter 1, verses 3 through 4, which is, Blessed be to God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ. According to his great mercy, he has caused us to be born again to a living hope through a resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead, to an inheritance that is imperishable, undefiled, and unfading, kept in heaven for you. Father, thank you for what promises I have in you. When I dwell upon your words, I find them to be living water to my parched soul. I pray that as I read your word, it would melt my heart for you and meld it to you. Thank you for your mercy. Though I struggle each day, you cover me with love and kindness. Thank you for life in you. One thing I was talking about with a small group last night was, if God didn't love me, if God didn't have plans for me, then why am I still here? I'm still here. So that's an opportunity for me to go out and share his word and display his goodness in my actions through my time with him on my alone time and through the encounters and through these videos that I do. I love doing these things, and I pray that this message would encourage you on this day to take a look at your life a little bit differently about what you must give up in order that Christ may be fully displayed in your life, so we can call ourselves true disciples and followers of Christ, that God himself can recognize our name on that day. I will see you guys tomorrow. Peace out.